Thank you so much for coming on today, Renee. I'm really looking forward to this one. It's going to be a great conversation. I always love speaking with you. So, for the people who don't have the pleasure of meeting you yet, tell us who you are and the center that you're with.
Okay. Thank you for asking me to do this, Forrest. This is
Hmm.
great. My name is Renee Talkington. I own Jaylen's Bowling Center in Douglasville, PA. I bought it in 2012, and we've been running it ever since, putting all our heart and soul into it. So it's kind of what we're doing.
Mhm. Yeah, I'll say heart and soul and a whole lot more. Mhm.
But I never do anything halfway.
Right.
I do it all the way or don't do it,
Mhm.
right?
Ab- Absolutely, yeah. So let's start at the beginning because I know a little bit more about your story than most, but I think it's a cool story because I love kind of seeing people maybe start from outside the business, see the value in it, especially you coming from a numbers background and saying, you know what, this is a good business. Let's dive in.
Mhm.
Walk me through that story a little bit about how you got into the industry.
Okay, well, I still kind of am an accountant.
Hmm.
I was a property management accountant for a very good company, and I was in the whole accounting world for 25 years, working all those long hours and
Hmm.
doing the grind and getting the deadlines and all that
Hmm.
stuff. I worked for a great company in King of Prussia. They owned shopping centers, and I was really into the property management part, which I really loved. I loved having to do the financial statements for a shopping mall. I mean, that's great for a woman. I'm like, I see the sales of the stores, and it
Right.
was just very exciting. And it was never complacent. It was always moving. It was always a moving target. Things were always happening. Leases were always different. So I got all that experience. And but after 25 years of that, you get a little burned out.
Right.
And I thought, let me try a different avenue, and I've been in the bowling world for since I was 8 years old. I bowled at Jaylen's, which is the center
Hmm.
I purchased. So it's kind of a goosebump type thing because you like
Right.
where you grew up and you saw your friends when you were
Hmm.
young and your relatives. My mom's the oldest out of 10, so I have 28
Mm.
cousins.
Wow.
So a lot of them were there when I was there, and it was fun. So I was bowling with the current owner of the center on a Friday night league. And he was like, I'm going to close the doors. I'm like, what? No, please.
Yeah, no, you're not.
So, yeah. So that was in 2011. And I'm like, well, who owns the building? Because I knew he didn't own the building. He's like, oh, the original owner. I'm like, oh, Barb, I remember her. And I said, let me get my husband on that. So he went and called her, made her an offer. And of course, everybody thinks their building's worth much more than it is. And
Of course.
present company not excluded on that. I'm right in that boat.
Right.
And so we talked to her and she turned us down and she made a deal with him for another year. And so now, 2011, I'm laid off again just because the company I worked for downsized, sold
Mm.
some properties, didn't need as many people. So now I'm really have time to work on maybe getting in. So I'm still bowling with him. I'm still talking to him, still trying to kind of work the deal.
Right.
And then came like the spring of 2012. He was like, that's it. I'm shutting the doors. I'm like, no, let me work on it. He's like, you don't want to buy a bowling alley. I'm like, just let me work on it. So we did. We worked on it. In the meantime, my husband has like 16 rental properties that he's working on.
Mm.
So going into the process, I'm proficient with leases and contracts and things like
Right.
that. I'm not a legal person. I stay in my lane. But I did ask. I got from the other owner. I got all the financials, and I looked at them. But bowling with him and still bowling in that center made me hear all the bowlers express what was wrong with it and what I
Mm.
needed to fix. Kind of helpful when you listen to them and you're like, it needs a snack bar, it needs better access to the bowling to the bar, it's so many things that kind of weren't too expensive to do, and they were right. So I knew I could make it work. So of
Mhm.
course, going through the process. And the funny thing was, is we had no contract for like, I took it over because he was going to shut the door. I'm in Reno bowling a national tournament, and I'm on the phone with my lawyer, my husband, her lawyer, and just trying to make this all work. It was like May 16th, and I turned around. We finally did like a verbal agreement I flew back on the 17th and I took it over on May 20th with no agreement, nothing
Wow.
written.
Just going in on a handshake, some trust.
Yeah, because once she shut those doors, you got to get those league bowlers back, and that's hard. There was a fire
Mhm.
at our center before we bought it in 2006, and it was down for a year, which
Mhm.
was some of how they lost some of their league bowlers because it was
Mm.
shut down for a year. They went other
Right.
places.
Yeah.
Some of them never come back. It's
Yeah,
hard
as soon
once
as
you
you lose
lose
that
them.
habit. Yeah,
Mhm.
once that
In all honesty, we didn't make settlement till October 12th.
wow.
Like the
Right.
agreement was done in June, and then we finally. So I mean, I'm paying payroll the first couple of weeks out of my personal bank account because
Wow.
I had
Yeah.
no bank statement, I had no tax, a Department of State paper to take to the bank to get a checking
Yeah.
account. It was like, oh, here you go, guys.
Right. Anything to get it done.
The good thing was there was only like 5 employees at the time. Needless to say, there's 15 at least now, so
Right.
it's a little easier, but still
Yeah,
wasn't
and it
fun.
it sounds like you've made some major improvements along the way with the laser tag, buying the building next door, adding a full restaurant. Like, take me through a little bit of that. I guess maybe that's some of the stuff that the bowlers, you overheard them were saying you wanted, and you went.
Yes, the snack bar was the first thing, and we didn't even own the building yet at that point. My husband had the snack bar up
Mhm.
by it was September, probably before the league bowlers came in. He was cut a hole. He moved the pro shop up, cut a hole in the wall so they could get to the bar, and then put the snack bar where the pro shop used to be. And he did
Mm.
all that in like a couple months. It was great. It was, and then we had to, because of the fire in 2006, they didn't upgrade the fire suppression system in the bar. So they couldn't cook. They couldn't use the deep fryer. They couldn't use the grill. They couldn't use anything back there because it wasn't
Wow.
brought up to code.
Mhm.
So we put some money into that and we brought that up to code. That was one of the things I knew because I'm like, food is where the profit margin is going to be. So let's get the food going. And we did
Mhm.
that. So I was happy.
Mhm.
And that fire suppression system was paid off in the first year. Like,
Right. Hey, did you like this video? Great. We make 10 of them a week. Subscribe to learn more and keep learning about what's working in the industry. Talk to you then.